Supercoaches coming into round 6. Just a quick update on my side if you didn't see the results video, which included fantasy as well. We just lost 53 spots and personally can't get the captaincy right. But we move forward with a really good side, and that's probably the problem, I suppose, this week with making upgrades is that a lot of the mid-range, a lot of the cheapy guys are actually doing pretty well. So the question is, like, can you actually sell them, and can you sell them this week? It's probably a no. Like, even just looking at guys like Sand Smith coming into this week with a -7 break even, if you were looking at upgrading someone like him, I've actually seen, you probably won't do it, and I've actually seen a few people selling guys like Tom Starling this week now that his minutes have actually dropped, and it's not a bad shout. You can actually move Sandon up to hooker and move on someone like Tom Starling or Pete Mamazelis. When you're looking at other slots there, you've got guys like Lockie Hubner who just made his first lot of cash there, up 73,000, and he's in a great spot. We lose Tino for this week. I've got Preston on the bye as well, but guys like Nafahu White, they're not really in a position to be sold either. Like a break even of 38, he's actually his lowest score in the last 3 has been 55, and he's been starter worthy. Guys like Nicholson, I thought we might have to look to potentially sell after his great score, but then his great score came along and has the lower break even as well, and is at 456, and is probably, as we can see there, averaging 71, pretty playable. In the 5'8 slot, like guys like Brimson could easily be moved upward, but is there another 5'8 that's out there absolutely crushing it? And the answer is probably no, outside of guys like Munster and in a good position to keep scoring well. In our centre wings, you look at Garrick as a guy that has probably peaked in price, but he's averaging 82.2, and yes, comes up against some harder opposition, but he's in a good team as well. Shibasaki coming off a lower score of 33, but with a negative break even. Marzu, bad game last week, pretty average the one before, but they have a nice run coming up. Jenkins, Purdue, negative break evens. You might want to buy a couple of guys like Purdue. With Tamale, a negative break even as well. Rob Toya, an 8. So they're all in good spots. And then in your fullback slot, guys like Gutherson are pretty cool buys this week, but at 828k. And in a situation myself, I'm at 372k in the bank. How do you play something like this? And there are different guys that are purchases this week, and one of them is Thomas Kant in that second row forward position. But how do you get there, and who do you sell? If you're looking at my side here, in the second row forwards, I probably do have to sell a cheapie in Charlie Geimer to make that a worthwhile pick. And then do you use one of these other, do you use a Tom Starling to go up to another gun? Do you upgrade one of your centre wings that might not be, peaked in price at all to upgrade to, guys like Herbie Farnworth and these types of players near that 700k, or, the Carrazes, these types of questions here. I grabbed Deli Katoa last week, and I hope, let me know in the comments if you jumped on early with me last week. But as I said with Marzu, Ponga has a really nice little, draw coming up, do the night. So yeah, it's an interesting situation, and we'll go straight to that hooker slot. And the guy that people are talking about at the moment is Wade Egan. He's had a cracking start, averaging 74.8, and has been the best hooker by far, with 2 others averaging over 60, one being Starling, who people are selling, and then Max Plath, who scored 3 tries in 5 games, which probably isn't going to happen anywhere near that clip for the rest of the season. So is he at 618k a bit of an awkward price to get to? That is someone that I should probably lose some cash eventually. And these are all the questions for this slot. And do you actually want to buy someone who is a hooker, or do you just stick solid with these mid-range guys that may end up losing a bit of cash? But guys like Starling, seems pretty safe that he's going to score around that 50 mark. And we've seen has that upside as well, and got involved in the tack last week. Yes, didn't score perfectly, but he can be involved in all that. If you do own Harry Grant, I think now at 604k, I wouldn't switch him to an Egan or to Plath or anything like that. I think you just hold steady. And the rest of the position, Sandon Smith, Matt Mazilis, Tom Starling, are all guys that I think you can hold. And if you do want to move on from Starling because of the less minutes, that makes sense. Riley Smith has made 53k, and he'll continue to go up a little bit, but nothing too extraordinary. So that's the hooking slot. That's how I'd play it personally. And yeah, not too much else to say. Front row forward. May, Tino is my situation. And I think I just moved Nafahu White down just to so he's playable for me in the second row forward this week. But let's look at some front row forwards that most of us don't have as potential buyers. And the big one that stands out to me is actually Adam Fanor-Blake. He's lost 34.8k now for the season, and it's a really good time to pounce given he's only scored that one try, and it was round one. Since then, he's scored really well in base. Without tries, he's averaging 70.7 the last three. So just knowing that he's got tries in his bag coming up, I think Adam is in a great position for you to purchase him. He's not going to miss games across the origin period as well, which is awesome. Max King's been really solid, but I don't think you just spend up. Most of us have decent amount of cash available, and he's going to be a really good guy to look at. Joe Tarpany there, 78 across his first 3 games for this season, and that includes Simbin, I believe, in one of them. So a great start from him. He has a terrific run up until their first buy in round 15 as well. I think Joe Taps and also Adam Fanor-Blake are the two guys to look at very, very clearly. Stefano's one to keep an eye on, given he's just scored the try. Can he continue that? But the first 3 games say no, and he wasn't well involved. Aaron Clark looks like he's getting a larger role. He's averaging 57.3 and will continue making some money. But I don't know if we want a plotter type style player in Supercoach compared to having that type of base stat guy in fantasy can work a little bit better, I think there. There's going to be a couple of guys in the second row forward that I think are of more interest, and it is around that cheaper range with Dylan Egan and also Thomas Kant there, who come into people's thoughts this week, with Thomas having a terrific first few game average there of 75 across the two when he played centers and got 62 on the weekend. So at 274k, he's a terrific pick, and I'm probably going to go there from Geimer, the way that my team is personally looking. Yeah, that's going to be pretty easy. The pretty simple way to get to him myself with that cash in the bank. Guys like Ellie, I think, are the clear standout best options, and the average is showing that as well. Preston following this week, he's had 130 into 122 into the 70. He is going to be right for the picking next week, and it won't be too expensive at 666k. But Siwa Wong in the mid-range is the guy that you should look at, and it makes complete sense. At 508k, he's up 190 now, and I personally grabbed him in fantasy, and would have been nice to grab him in both there. But 508k is very easy to get to. The problem is going to be, though, who of your second row forwards are a sell, and how easily can you get to Wong? But if you have guys that are out, or if you've got someone you want to move on from, you've got flex position available that you can move things around with, then I do think he's the guy to grab there. And that's the thing, if you're looking at Dylan Egan, I think getting 2 cheapies is probably not necessary this week. So Thomas Kant's definitely the clear standout as a guy you can play in your 17 this week. And that's the way I'm looking at it, as potentially buying him myself. I can't believe Brent Nicker has scored that many tries and he's down 62k. That's just absolutely wild. But Toby Couchman did some good work this week after a lower one the week before. So that's the worry if he drops his minutes. But Isaiah Yeo did pick up the try assist on the weekend. He's back on the improve after a pretty slow start for him, averaging under 60 until last game. And that does include a try in round 1. So he's someone to keep an eye on. But coming up to Origin, guys like him, guys like Crichton, missing round 10, he'll miss 12. It's a pretty tough little situation, and that's where you could potentially look at someone like David Fafita, whose average has started pretty low, to be honest with you. And the rest of the guys on this list, they don't really stand out as clear buyers as we go into the sort of the 50-odd average type players. But that's where Fafita down at 650k now, 99,000 he's gone down. I personally would wait to see him actually take the leap and score better, and get a few more minutes on the board as well, and that's where that could be helpful for you. And similar with Egan at 198k, he's going to make money. He's averaging 50, but how many more of these cheap guys that we probably don't trust in our scoring 17 do we need in our side? Kitione Katonga picked up a line break, a try, forced dropout as well last week, a great score of 77. But that includes some 40s and the like there, and he's already up 100k. So can you go for him, or do you go for Egan if you were going cheaper, or just Thomas Kant there? They're all the clear, easy thoughts in the second row forward position. Now to talk about halfbacks, this is worth looking at, given it's a situation I might find myself wanting to trade one of them in. Jerome Hughes stands out. 3 games for him so far, averaging 71.7, down 27k already, which is good after his tremendous season last year. In this top 4, I would buy him before Hines, but he's a 62k, and is in a good position to have a good year as well. But we know that he is not the standout top tier gun, along with Nathan Cleary, that we've seen so far. And if you don't have Nath yet, I would 100% buy him. Number 1 on this list, hands down. I think we leave the conversation there. Just buy Cleary if you haven't. And if you do need another half, it probably is Jerome Hughes. He's played 2 games of 69 minutes, I think 59 minutes, so he's a great guy to grab before Nico Hines just. Now 5'8" slot, if I was to look at upgrading a Brimson, then I think it's very clearly Munster who's on top there with 3 scores, netting him 77.5 average across the last 3 games he's gone 70, but 77.5 across the season, and is up 36k overall, but a 645k price point is not too high for Munster, and we've seen him be above that near the sort of 700k mark that we've seen with Jaden Campbell to start this year. Chanel's been making good cash. He'll continue to do that for the next little bit. We'll see Blaze Talangi back in the starting jersey, but not someone you want to look at, and down here it gets pretty grim in the 5'8" slot. So basically it's Munster or bust there. For centre wings, now, where do you want to go here? Because there's definitely some options up top. I personally wouldn't buy Tuipulotu at this point at 83k up. Garrick, I'm not buying. Kale-Iro's injured. Anderson's got the nice 77 average. Hiroti, 77 as well. Won't change cash until the following week, so probably a no. Billy Smith up at 76. So a lot of our top guns aren't actually there right now. You've got injured guys in AKP, sorry. And Jesse Arthur's up at 70 as well, who made 3 and a bit K, but he'll start to lose some cash most likely unless he continues scoring tries. Tot was injured as well. And it gets down to Bradman Best finally at 656k, who coming off at 25 may not be the best time to purchase him, but I think he's going to have a pretty good couple of months there for sure. If there's a slightly fallen gun that you want to purchase, I personally think it is Herbie Farnworth. Coming off 55, he's down 30k for the season now. He still hasn't scored a try. That will come, and there'll be important weeks for him to come for sure. Lomax apparently might be injured. I don't know, but you might have more information by the time this video comes out for you. But yeah, he's someone to follow. Leo Hapuati, 602k. Probably only got a few weeks more before he goes back to the wing. Stafford's at 421. He'll continue to make some cash. Some great scores from him recently. And yeah, he's solid. Fletcher Sharp, I think, will continue to have some good games in him, averaging 65.5 now after the 43. But surprisingly, is down 1.8k across the season there. Yeah, that's right. 1.8k across the season with a start that he had. Shows how expensive he was to begin the year. Jermaine Asako with the big score. Don't be fooled by that. I think they have to win a lot more games like that for him to score well. So he could just go back to, and I know owners of him probably weren't too happy with his start. So they'd, would have hoped to have held on for that 114. Carraz is the one to think about, guys. 61 in that game at 702k. He's very expensive, but we know that he's going to have really good games, and that was one of them. Guys like Jackson Purdue, I think that the cash that he's making is spectacular, and I think he'll continue to do it with 2 great scores in his rolling average. He's got this game, he's got the bye the following, but I think that's completely fine, and he'll be sticking in my side, and I am the Jackson Duffies. I started with both of them, and a Cowboys fan, for those that aren't sure, that didn't know, but yeah, he's a great guy this year. And then in the fullback, so yeah, Gutho would probably be the clear standout at the moment. Then you're looking at, I still think Ponga's the best pick next up, but Latrell comes into people's thoughts, and a slow start for him with that 40 odd that he picked up, but he's going to come into his own over the next bunch of weeks. No, Latrell end up at 51. The slower start, I think he'll get back to some great ones, and if you have that pod type of money at 866k, then he's a good guy to jump on this week. The Yongi one's a tough one. He finally has made the cash, and now he's going to get quickly up to 500k. So it's a tough sell, but I think I went Yongi to Gutho, who picked up the low score and then the 130. So can you buy him back? Yes, if you want to. Is it the best pick? I'm not sure. We won't know for a while. Look at Teddy picking up another 100. Another great week for him. Guys like Drinkwater, Pappenhausen, all solid. We're still got to worry about Pappy injuries, which is the big one. But he's a lot less expensive than the Tedescos, Guthos, Ponga. He'll go down some cash this week. I'd pick all them over Campbell at the moment. Just doesn't seem to be getting the attacking stats. Like he's good base stats for fantasy, but yeah, apart from that 1 ton week, the last 2 have been a bit slow. Can he bounce back? I hope he does, given I own both those Titans boys. But yeah, they're the guys you want to target up top, and Latrell's the fun one, let's say. So that's the buy, hold, sell for Supercoach, guys. Hope that helped you guys out a lot. Let me know what trades you might be looking at again, and I did appreciate all you guys that said you were here for my Supercoach chat only. The short and sharp stuff. Appreciate it. Hope you enjoyed, and we'll catch you in the next video, which will be, for you guys, for Supercoach, will be my trades video, where I'm trying to work it out over the next couple of days. See you, team.